On the 22nd of September 1979, one of the Vela Hotel satellites detected a double flash of light somewhere between the bottom of South America and Antarctica. There have been many theories as to what happened, but the most likely was a secret nuclear test. Why did it happen? And what about this Vela satellite? In this video, I'll be trying to uncover the truth behind the mysterious Vela incident. In 1959, the US military started a small research project. However, over the next quarter of a century, it would turn into something much bigger. Skip forward 4 years to 1963, the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty had been signed, stopping all nuclear tests from happening anywhere other than underground. It was signed by the US, UK and Soviet Union, but America didn't really trust the Soviet Union, so the Vela project was transformed into a big-budget, top-secret program to build a group of satellites which would monitor nuclear tests to see if countries were complying with the rules. These satellites could detect ground tests, mid-air explosions and space tests. It might seem a bit silly now, but in the Cold War, many people genuinely feared an intergalactic battle in space would occur. 12 satellites were launched, 6 of them the standard Vela Hotel design, the other 6 advanced Vela design, which were able to detect detonations in the atmosphere much more accurately. All of the satellites were built by TRW, an American company mainly specializing in aerospace and the automotive market. The first Vela Hotel pair launched on the 17th of October 1963, just 1 week after the Test Ban Treaty was signed. The other pairs went up into orbit between 1963 and 1970, with a designed lifespan of 18 months, but that was later changed to 7 years. And that's for the advanced Vela design. The Vela Hotel satellites were only designed for 6 months orbiting, however, this was updated to 5 years. But 9 years after the last Vela satellite was launched, Vela 5B observed a strange double flash of light, characteristic of an atmospheric nuclear explosion. What's odd about this, though, is that the Sound Surveillance System, a NATO program, had little evidence to suggest that the explosion was large enough to have come from a nuclear bomb. A report summarised the Sound Surveillance System's data, but it had many fatal flaws, such as it did not include data from the Missile Impact Locating System, which had been specifically designed to detect where missile impacts were. In fact, a separate report on the subject of the MILS data was not even included in the original report. Why would a government-led investigation miss something so blindingly obvious? The United States Air Force sent out a group of 25 aircraft to take atmospheric samples, but I could not find the results of these on the official NSA archives website about the Vela incident, or anywhere else on the internet for that matter. According to the NSA report on this, the CIA sent people into the surrounding regions to take samples of leaves in search for any evidence of a nuclear fallout, but according to the document, no traces to suggest a nuclear detonation were ever found. It's just as well that someone was also looking for evidence too then, as in September 1980, 1 year after the incident, a professor studying sheep thyroids published a report stating that iodine-13, which is a short-lasting byproduct of a nuclear reaction, had been found in sheep in Melbourne, Australia, just weeks after the incident. Many reports were commissioned by government organisations and by separate contractors too. Almost all of them stated that the chance of the signal the Vela satellite received being replicated by a natural phenomenon was 1 in a billion, some suggesting up to 1 in 100 billion chance. But one that was personally commissioned by the then President Jimmy Carter came to the rather different conclusion that it was probably a meteoroid colliding with the Vela satellite and ejecting some particles which reflected sunlight into the field of view of the barometers, which were basically the sensors. To me, this sounds really unlikely that a meteorite would hit a satellite so gently that it wasn't completely destroyed, and then some tiny bits of debris would float right in front of the sensors in a way that exactly replicated the unmistakable signature of a nuclear explosion. And it's not just my opinion that this is so incredibly unlikely to have been created by a natural phenomenon, but so many other scientists and researchers who've looked into this in way more depth than I have come to the conclusion that this could have not been anything except a nuclear detonation. So why did a report commissioned by the President argue so differently? Leaving aside why the President's report was so against the idea of it being a nuclear test, I'm now going to move on to who conducted these tests and why. At the time, a document produced by the CIA held South Africa responsible, as back then the country had a growing nuclear weapons program, and the estimated site of the detonation was very close to the Prince Edward Islands, which were South African territory. However, many people argue that the South African nuclear weapons program was not nearly advanced enough to have been able to conduct these tests. Another document by the director of the CIA considered multiple possibilities, including it being a secret Soviet test, but the three main conclusions it took away was that it was either a secret test by South Africa, a secret test by Israel, or both countries working together to advance each other's nuclear programs. We definitely know South Africa has nuclear bombs, and there is huge piles of evidence to prove it. In fact, they admitted it themselves before decommissioning their nuclear weapons, the only country to do so. But Israel is far more secretive, or at least it tries to be. It's more of an open secret that Israel has a nuclear program. They have never publicly confirmed or denied it, but everyone really knows that they probably do, considering that they're surrounded by enemies who want to invade and attack. Over 40 years later, we have a bit more of an idea what happened, and many people believe that it was an Israeli nuclear test, aided by South Africa. In 2010, new evidence came to light showing the fact that at the time, Jimmy Carter, who was then the president, wrote in his diary on the 27th of February 1980, "We have a growing belief among our scientists that the Israelis did indeed conduct nuclear test explosions near the southern end of South Africa." There are some other possible countries who might have done it, but really it's not that likely. Some of them are France, for instance, because they had some territory very close to the estimated site of detonation, but there was really no need for them to do it, and they probably wouldn't have done so. The most likely explanation that I can come to is that it was an Israeli test, maybe or maybe not aided by South Africa, but I don't think we'll ever know entirely 100% for sure. So that's the end of the video. I really hope you did enjoy it, and for me it's been about 3 weeks, almost a month working on this, so to be honest I'm pretty glad to see the back of it. I just really haven't had the motivation to finish it off, but now that I have, I'm really happy with the video and I hope you did enjoy it too. If you could leave a comment or a like, that does really help, because YouTube interaction basically tells the algorithm that people like my videos and it helps promote them more, so as a small creator it's super useful. If you did enjoy, then subscribe, because as I've said, that does really help, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.